Welcome back to the new #1 morning show in Northwest Indiana. News, sports, education, and entertainment. Wake up, GI, with Jeffrey Smith. Brought to you by the Geary Community Schools Corporation.
All right, everybody, we're back. Once again, shout out to Lori and the Geary Literacy Coalition. Once again, their fundraisers tomorrow. You want to go out there and support them. 6 o'clock, doors open, 7 o'clock, 7:15. The event itself starts. Make sure you get out there and support the Geary Literacy Coalition. We're switching gears right now, ladies and gentlemen, because, of course, we were talking, obviously, about literacy, but now we get into some good stuff, and we're talking about healthy snacking, and that's kind of something that we always talk about on this show. Going out here and making conscious decisions to put good stuff into our body. And it's also about entrepreneurship, because I've got to meet a lady for the first time. Her name is Emily Edwards. She is, of course, the CEO of Paradise Spreads, and she came here with some goodies for those of you looking online. That's right, I held it up. I've got it, you don't. But we're going to end up meeting her in just a second or two. But as I said, this is guilt-free snacking, indulgently decadent sweet plant-based spreads and snacks. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and meet the CEO and founder of this wonderful woman-owned company, Miss Emily Edwards. How you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
Did I build you up enough?
You did.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking time, obviously, out of your busy morning, to drop by and kind of introduce yourself to us and the audience. We always appreciate that. And I also want to thank you for a little bit of free samples. These are the perks of doing this job. If everybody ever wonders why I continuously do this job, it's because of days like this. But give us a little background. Tell us about your company, and then I want to learn a little bit about you.
Okay. So my company is Paradise Spreads. It was founded in 2018.
Okay.
And we specialize in sweet plant-based spreads and snacks. So we have 8-ounce tubs.
Yeah.
We have 3 flavors: caramel, sea salt, vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
And then to our line, we also have Paradise Snack Packs, which is an on-the-go snack pack, which is what you have,
right,
that contains a 1.5-ounce cup of our Paradise Spreads paired with grain-free pretzels.
Yeah. Now, before we get into that, let's talk about that, because it's kind of interesting, because there seems to be some kind of science that goes into it. My wife and I went through this phase in particular. It might have been a year or 2 years ago during Lent, where I was really kind of getting into plant-based. I said, you know what? I'm not going to be scared of it. I ended up trying an Impossible Burger out there. I forget what restaurant it was. Absolutely delicious. Couldn't tell the difference. Then I started to incorporate that into our home groceries. I had some sausages and things like that. And so I understand the deliberate move by our society to go into these plant-based things. I mean, they kind of tease us, but they also appear to be healthy. When you're getting into sweets, that to me seems like it's just a whole nother animal. So give me a little background. I want to find out about the company, but explain to me about how the plant-based, programming goes into creating sweets. Because I understand the sugars and things like that, but I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, it's not an easy task, and just some background for me that kind of ties into my story. I grew up in a little small town called Stallo, Mississippi, which is in the town of Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Right.
So I am a Mississippi girl at heart.
Right. How far is that from Natchez?
That's down by Jackson, so it's about an hour away.
Okay, all right.
So more background, that is where the 3 civil rights workers were killed in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Yes. So that's where I hail from.
Okay.
So as a child, my mother was a baker.
Oh.
And so, growing up in the South, they didn't measure anything. And so it was a pinch of this and a pinch of that. But some of my fondest memories was actually sitting on my mother's countertop,
right,
waiting for her to finish baking a pound cake so I could lick the batter from the spoon. So those were my first experiences.
That's not just limited to the South. We did that up here. Go ahead, please.
Well, my mother had the patent on that one in my mind. So, growing up in the South, everybody loves sweets.
Yes.
And so I learned in that kitchen, everybody that came by our house got a plate, got some food. And so for me, that was like bringing people together, the love, I call my mother's kitchen a gathering kitchen.
Yes.
So all of that rolled up in one. So fast forward, I wanted to recreate something that mothers could enjoy with their children.
Right.
But without all of the real sweet taste, the sugars,
right,
the preservatives, additives. So I switched to plant-based because a lot of times people, as we get older, and even kids have all these allergies, and as we get older, everybody loves sweets, but we don't like what it does to us.
Right, the side effects.
And so I started working with plant proteins, and one of the problems that I had was that plants taste like dirt.
Oh.
And the reason why I know that is because I ate dirt as a kid.
Yeah.
So I knew what dirt tastes like.
You're preaching to the choir here. Go ahead.
So I kept playing around with it, and then spent a year and a half down at Purdue Food Science Lab in Lafayette in product development.
Yeah.
And walked away. It was initially called Paradise Icing, but when you say that to people, their brain goes to a cake or a cupcake.
Right.
And so we rebranded a couple of years ago and came up with Paradise Breads.
Now, do you have, because obviously you came up with your own chemical composition, so I hope you got proprietary license on this, right? Because, this is...
Paradise is patent, but you can't... it's trademark. You can't patent ingredients.
Okay. Or you can't
But
even patent the composition. You can't even patent the composition
because it has to do something that you didn't expect it to do.
Oh, okay. Interesting stuff. So first of all, full disclosure, I got a little South in me. On my father's side, ever since I was a little boy, my parents used to put me on the Amtrak train, send me to Crystal Springs, Mississippi, to my grandmother's mother and sister's home. So I understand that. And then I spent a good part of my adult life down in Tuskegee, Alabama. Then I moved to Opelika. And then I lived in Atlanta for a minute. So I appreciate the Southern hospitality. And you're absolutely right about liking their sweets. And there's always a little bit of fresh cake that's always available. And they typically, when I was in Alabama even, I remember there was this one woman who I ended up meeting who literally used to sit the pie on the windowsill in the old traditional manner to let it cool. So I can absolutely appreciate what you're out here doing. So give us a little background before we start to kind of get into how we can get our hands on that. So as you said, you kind of got into this in 2018, and was there? I mean, what was your line of work? I guess what I'm asking.
I'm a former social worker.
Okay, all right.
Oh.
See, I have a lot of people that have sat in your things, and there was always some kind of constant, and that was like the pandemic, in which and once again, we always like to tell the audience, pandemic bad. But there were a lot of good things that came out when the world stopped. People looked around. They said, you know what? I want to try my hobby, my passion. You kind of pulled the trigger before that happened. And so, I mean, was this something you were always flirting with or what?
I always liked baking and cooking. To me, it was just in my DNA.
Yeah.
And so in 2018, I was totally burned out from listening to people's issues and problems.
At least you're honest
and
about
I
it.
still wanted to help people, but I didn't want to sit behind a desk anymore and listen to all of the mental aspect.
Right.
And I knew that a lot of people, when it came from a physical aspect, like I had gone on this weight loss journey and really gotten in shape. I've since gained it all back, but
well,
that's okay.
You're working around plant-based sweets.
So, I woke up one day and I just decided I don't really want to do this anymore. I want to help people, but I can help you from a physical standpoint. I can talk about food because we are what we eat. And a lot of problems that we have is because of poor diet and we're stationary. And so I just sold my company and started doing this. Wow.
I mean, that's kind of awesome. And I mean, was it difficult to kind of go out there? I'm talking about emotionally and to just jump out.
Oh yeah,
because
once
again,
difficult.
It was easier in the pandemic. I'm saying it's easier because you were forced. You had to make decisions, but you literally just kind of made a left turn in the middle of life.
I'll be the first to tell you, it's still very difficult. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
No, it isn't.
You have the highs and lows, and food is even more difficult.
Oh yes,
because people
are
eat
fickle
with their eyes. They're fickle. They expect something to taste one way, and our taste buds are set as a baby.
Yeah.
And so once those taste buds are set, it's really, really hard to introduce something else to people. I mean, before the pandemic, I spent a lot of time in grocery stores looking at consumer behavior.
Yes, yeah.
And people tend to they look at colors. That was the reason behind our rebranding.
Right.
They look at colors, and if they've got samples, they'll sample that. And that's what they tend to pick up on. But if you grew up on fried foods and greasy foods, if I give you something healthy, you tell me, oh, this don't taste good.
Right. And so let me ask you this, Emily, because you bring up a good point. I'm glad that you kind of share with us that you kind of did a little market research by traveling around the grocery store. So obviously we're coming up on what I like to call I've called one of our eating holidays. This is our eating season in this part of the country. I mean, in this country. And that is, you've got Thanksgiving, obviously Christmas, two holidays that kind of center around eating. And so when, as we kind of started off talking, when we think about the words plant-based, there's still a segment of society that sees that And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to go through that. And, obviously, as I said, there are more of us that have started to come around and understand that this is kind of a good way to go. It does not, the people like yourself who go out here and do it correctly, you really won't notice the difference unless you keep reading plant-based. And so was it kind of required by the way you marketed that you had to identify it as plant-based, first of all, and then secondly, how do you go out here during a holiday in which a lot of sweets are going to be consumed and kind of put this on the plate or on the table of a lot of families during this Thanksgiving and Christmas season? Because people want their pumpkin pies and they want their sweet potatoes and they want all those things.
Pumpkin pie?
Yeah, well, not pumpkin,
Sweet potato. Well, for me, because you can put paradise spreads on a sweet potato.
Oh, you can?
And you get the sweetness in it.
Okay.
So for me, I think when I get people to taste it,
yeah.
If I've got a sample in my backpack or wherever, when I can get it in your mouth, then you don't think it's plant-based.
Right.
If I don't say plant-based, you don't know it's plant-based.
Right.
Like, we work really, really hard because one of the things about plant-based proteins is that you have those off notes, the graininess.
Yeah.
So we worked really hard to try to get rid of that. And I think we've been pretty successful with that.
Nice.
One of my things I always say, a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips. And so you can eat all the sweets you want, but do you want the consequences afterwards?
Right.
And so what I do is I just talk to people about, do you want to feel better?
Right.
What do you put in your system in? And do you want to continue to go down this cycle? What do you want to do with your life? How do you want to do it?
Yeah.
And do you want to keep going to the doctor and taking all these different medications and different things?
I like it.
So you can have a sweet treat without the guilt.
Yeah, and so bring us into your marketing because I'm just kind of consuming this and it's a lot because I can definitely appreciate. So as you kind of grow your brand, and as I said, here we are in a holiday season. Obviously, I'm encouraging people, by the way, to go out here and try this. This would be a great addition to a Thanksgiving, if you ask me. And I haven't even tasted it yet, but I'm looking at it and I'm going to kill it before I go home. So I'm letting my wife know. So anyway, having said that, have you gone out here and do you approach grocery stores? Do you start off? I'm not trying to get into your marketing war room, but it seems like, do you start off with like a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, and then work your way into some of the mainstream places? I mean, because obviously these restaurants like your Trader Joe's and your Whole Foods, you're going to have more of a conscientious.
Those are the big box stores.
Yeah, those are the more conscientious shoppers.
You start local.
Right.
Someone once told me own home first.
I got you.
So if you can't own home, what am I doing in California and I can't own my home base?
Exactly.
Somebody else is in my yard playing.
Right.
So I need to play in my own backyard first. So we was in Strike and Van Til, and when we rebranded, we came out. So we'll probably go back in there next year.
Yeah.
We're going to be launching on Amazon, hopefully in December.
Good.
We have our own website. A lot of my stuff is by word of mouth.
Yeah.
I had to figure out social media and everything. I'm like, I'm too old for this kind of stuff. So I do my own posting.
Nice.
I do my own marketing, basically.
Yeah.
I just recently linked up with the wonderful Chelsea Whittington,
Right.
C. Witt, who you with.
Yeah.
So, just really trying to navigate it. And one of the things I would like to say is that you have to follow your own journey. You have to go at your own pace. Because we often get caught up in what we see on social media, and sometimes that's an illusion.
Oh, my goodness.
Because we can post anything.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes is where the real stuff happens at. So just my own pace. My e-commerce store does pretty good. I'm on a couple of other wholesale websites. And just really talking about it all the time. Like, it's always in my backpack. Wherever I go, I really try to push it and talk about it. I do pop-ups. So just wherever I can to get the word out there. Like, I didn't realize a lot of people had heard of me when I'm out and I say who I am. Oh, yeah, I know you. You was featured in this, or you was here, you was there. And so getting them to taste it and just having them to give me feedback, something that I can go back and work on. I'm also working on a peanut butter flavor, which is kind of difficult because people's mind, when you think peanut butter, it's already in your mind what it tastes like. And so to make a peanut butter flavor nut-free is a challenge. And then we're working on a cookie. We're
talking with Miss Emily Atwood. She is the CEO, founder of Paradise Spread. She's in studio right now sharing her story as well as some of the goodies that she's brought along here. I definitely want to compliment you on your journey and definitely, I'm sure people recognize you got all that dope merch that you got on right now. I mean, you are paradise from head to toe. I'm just peeping it. It's so awesome. I like that flannel, by the way. But, I want to ask you this, because I think that you're also doing, you're somewhat of a vanguard. You're doing something that's a service to a specific demographic, i.e. the Black community. I mean that because we always hear the term, and I kind of push back on it, food desert, because I want people to kind of employ healthy choices. I got a couple of friends that are in urban farming. That's kind of like my little thing right now. And so I think that when I see companies like yourself and things like that who kind of pop up, I think this is absolutely a great addition into the conversation of food insecurity and all that kind of stuff. So I want to ask you, how do you go about getting over the psychology? Because one of the things in our specific, and you should appreciate this because you're from Mississippi, the South, is that there is a little bit of stubbornness in us in our community, in which we like our sweets a certain way. We like things to just kind of be the way they were. And sometimes the thought of maybe trying, or at least trying to kind of test our palate and see what's going on is a little bit intimidating. But number one, I've learned your personality, so I'm sure you can convince a lot of folks. But, I'm sure that's a challenge as you expand because, obviously you want to serve this to the world, and I'm all for you. But I also think that you are an asset to the Black community specifically. So how do you make sure we kind of get over these little perceptions that we have about plant-based food? I know that's a lot.
It is a lot. You have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You can't force people into thinking, okay, you got to do this. And so you have to get people to see what their issues are.
Yeah.
And so when I was a therapist, I used to tell people therapy is not about the therapist,
right.
It's about the person. And so oftentimes you pass a mirror and you think, I'm a size 2, but you're really a size 12. And so you squeeze in stuff.
Yeah, well, wow, what kind of mirror is that?
Our perception sometimes is not not reality.
Right.
And so what I always say to people, when we think about the foods that we eat and we think about the things that we do for our health and what we do, how has it benefited us?
There you go.
And so when you start asking people questions, they have to answer those questions, and that makes them think.
Let me tell you, I'm a mischievous person, so I want you to know whose show you're on. I would easily pull the label off of this stuff, and I would just shove it in front of people, and then at the end, I'd be like, aha, you know what you ate? But that's just me. I don't encourage you.
That. I've done that.
I was about to say, don't listen to this guy.
Plant-based and healthy, I just say, can you taste this? It becomes easier.
Right.
But also, too, I like to educate people. I like people to know,
right.
Going to the grocery store now, to me, is like a job because you have to really read labels.
Yes, it
They
is.
got all these names and you don't know what they are.
Right.
And so when you look at Paradise, you can read everything, no preservatives, no additives, 12-month shelf life. That's real simple.
Yeah.
I can give it to my 6-year-old niece and she could read it.
Okay.
And so when we start thinking about not just the Black community, but communities in whole.
Exactly.
You see so many people. Like I was at the doctor's office a couple of months ago, and it was like room to room. I thought I was at the club, and I thought, wow. And so when you start looking around and you look at just people's demeanor, their diet, when you start dissecting all of that, you think, no wonder we're so sick and we have so many health issues because we don't think about what we eat. If I'm hungry, I'll just pull into McDonald's, but I keep Paradise snack packs in my backpack. So when I'm hungry, I can grab this. It's got pea protein in it, so it releases peptides in the stomach that help you feel full longer. Oh,
listen, I like that. I got a little science in my background, so I know what you speak. And also I'd like to kind of add, because as you're talking, if I'm out here and I'm a parent, this is exactly, you talk about keeping it in your backpack. As I get ready to send my young scholars off to school and things like that, kids love to, sweets and love having snacks. I think this is absolutely one of the better ways to go when we look at our youth who are starting to get a little bit more obese and a little wide around the trunk and all that kind of stuff. So this is a great healthy alternative. That's me talking. This is a great healthy alternative to some of the other things that we see processed that we put in kids' lunch bags.
Oh, absolutely. We just don't think about all the benefits.
Right.
A lot of the medicines you take is from plants. Would you take it?
Yeah. Well, that's another show. We'll talk later.
So I just think if you're educated and you take the time to think about it and try it, and become accustomed to it and stop fighting it. But oftentimes we fight what's good for us.
We do. Now give us a little logistics about how to find your product, of course, now. Because I'm sure there are a lot of people waiting with that pen.
My website is www.spread, Paradise, PARADISE.com.
Yeah.
We're also on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever else is out there, Telegram.
Yeah.
So we're all of them. I'm here in the city. If you need to find me, you can reach me through Chelsea, or you can send us an email on our website.
Well, we definitely want people to go out here, and as I said, the holiday, the eating season's coming up. This is a great addition to any type of menu that you're putting on for your family and friends. And I would even throw this out there. Go to the website, order a couple of boxes of this stuff and send it off to your college scholar in a nice little care package. And I'm sure they would be absolutely appreciative, and they don't get that freshman 15 that they tend to get when they go to school. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Another little plug about Paradise. If you're a coffee drinker, you can actually put it in your coffee.
Oh my God! So it's a creamer now.
Yeah, so you can put it on your cakes, your muffins, just whatever. On a bad day, just grab your tub of it and dip it from the jar.
There you go. I appreciate that. All right, Emily, it's been a pleasure. I definitely would love to see you and talk to you again, see how your business is doing going forward. But we absolutely support you. Thank you for the samples. I'm not going to, I'm going to take a little home, but some of it's going to get done here. So I will let you know.
What is your wife like? What
flavors you got? Give me the strawberry.
Strawberry.
Yeah.
Does she like chocolate?
She loves chocolate.
Okay, well, here, you give her the chocolate.
You go. All right, there you go. All right, thank you. You just saved a marriage. We're going to get ready to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking with Edgewater. Miss Emily Edwards, Paradise Spreads. Go check her out.